Hey everyone, before we dive in, if you enjoy stories like this about real life and personal growth, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. I never imagined one simple weekend could turn my whole world upside down, but that's exactly what happened. My name's Alex, and I've been with Sarah for nearly 8 years. It wasn't some over-the-top romance like in the movies. Ours was more low-key, steady, and real. We had our daily habits, our private little jokes, and those lazy Saturday mornings sipping from faded coffee cups. I figured I understood our relationship completely until that weekend hit. Sarah said she needed a break to clear her head. Just give me the weekend to sort things out, she told me. Her tone was steady, maybe too steady, but her fingers tapping nervously on the table gave away how uneasy she really felt. I nodded, forced a smile, and pretended everything was fine, even though my stomach was in knots. It wasn't the first time she'd wanted time to think. She'd had her periods of uncertainty before, times when she pulled away, but this felt heavier somehow. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I trusted her, so I let her go. Friday night dragged on. I stuck to my normal routine. Cooked a solo meal, sat by the window watching streetlights shimmer in the leftover rain puddles. My phone didn't buzz once. No quick check-in from Sarah. I kept telling myself not to overthink it. It's only a couple days, I muttered under my breath. But sleep didn't come easy. Every creak in the house, every hum from the fridge sounded amplified. The silence felt heavy, like the whole place was waiting on edge. Saturday arrived, and I threw myself into chores to stay occupied. I cut the grass, repaired the old fence, cleaned out the garage, anything to push back the growing worry in my chest. But everything brought her back to mind. The way she always added extra sugar to her coffee. Her favorite spot on the couch where she'd snuggle up with a novel. The playlist she loved that I hadn't played once. As the afternoon sun slipped through the window blinds, a weird sense of calm settled over me. I realized the emptiness wasn't just tough. It was liberating in a way I hadn't seen coming. I could relax without guessing her mood or walking on eggshells around unseen issues. Still, a part of me hurt deep down. That evening, I looked back on our beginning. How she'd giggle when I botched making pancakes. How she'd stay up, listening to me go on about my job. The vacations we dreamed up that always felt too short. Over time, the excitement had faded, replaced by quiet arguments, unspoken strain, and awkward silences. I'd noticed it creeping in, but brushed it off as stress from work or everyday life. Now, with her gone, the truth washed over me clearly. While I'd been gripping tight, she might have been drifting away without a sound. By Saturday night, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her to come back and dive into a tough talk that could turn into blame or tears. No, this wasn't about proving a point or begging her to stay. It was about protecting myself. I threw a few outfits, my wallet, charger, and an unused journal into a bag and slipped out quietly. The street was deserted, the air cool with hints of recent rain and faint night-blooming jasmine. I headed straight to my buddy Jake's place without saying anything. I knew when Sarah got home, the house would be empty. No note, no text, no trace, just the space we both needed. I crashed at Jake's that night, sitting in the soft glow of his living room lamp, nursing a cup of tea and staring at a plain wall. He didn't pry, he got it. I knew some might think my move was over the top or intense, but for me, it was the only way to get back my own identity. Lying there on his couch, I thought about the last time Sarah had looked at me with real affection. The last time our laughter felt natural. And it hit me. Sometimes love means knowing when to let go, not just holding tighter. Sunday morning brought an odd feeling of tranquility. I didn't feel victorious or sorry, just wide awake to how life shifts in unexpected ways. I reflected on our vows of forever, the comfortable patterns we built, the little happinesses we shared, and how delicate it all turned out to be. I wonder if Sarah would ever understand what I now saw, or she'd feel shocked, upset, lost, or even unbothered. But for the first time in ages, I didn't obsess over her reaction. I stayed focused on my own thoughts and newfound perspective. I kept my phone off most of the day, only glancing at notifications now and then. Each buzz reminded me of the step I'd taken. A few hours before she was due back, I let a small grin cross my face. Not for her or anyone else, but for myself. After so long, I finally felt like I was steering my own life again. I understood that the toughest choices are often the quiet ones nobody else notices, yet they change everything inside. If you've ever had to pull back to move forward, drop your story in the comments. It could give someone else the insight they're searching for. When Sarah finally drove up, the house was dark and still, no lights, no car, no me. She probably realized right away. I pictured the mix of shock and confusion on her face. I didn't want to be there for that moment. I wanted the quiet to say more than any fight ever could. Some might label extreme or harsh, but I saw it as essential. It wasn't payback. It was about setting limits, honoring myself, and gaining perspective. I wanted the city that day, strolling streets that felt both known and oddly new without her next to me. Every spot stirred memories. The cafe where she dragged me to try bizarre pastries, the bookstore where we'd argue playfully over books, the park where we'd sit watching the sunset without words. But her absence changed them. They didn't sting, they enlightened. They showed the life we created, the affection we'd grown, and the truth that some stories close without fanfare. By Sunday evening, I was at a cozy little cafe, drinking plain black coffee as the sky turned warm hues of orange and purple. My phone vibrated. A text from Sarah. "Where are you?" I didn't answer right away. I let it sit, feeling the strength that comes from choosing distance. For once, I was in charge of my path instead of reacting to her doubts or needs. The insight I gained in her absence wasn't harsh. It was liberating. Quiet, sure, but truly my own. I stayed away the rest of the day. When I finally went home that night, I made a choice that would shape the weeks ahead. I wouldn't chase answers or apologies. I wouldn't push talks that could turn into finger-pointing. I'd exist in the open space between us, embracing the understanding that comes from knowing your value. If she wanted to talk or rebuild, it would have to be as equals, not through guilt or pressure, but real openness and respect for each other. The next morning, Sarah called. Her voice shook just a bit beneath her attempt at composure. "Alex, I never saw this coming," she said. I listened without jumping in, giving her room to speak. She tried to explain her need for a break, the weekend away, the muddle in her head. I responded thoughtfully, but didn't plead or make excuses. My inner peace wasn't up for debate anymore. In my quiet, she heard the message. I'd chosen me. I prized my own clarity over staying in something that was coming apart. Over the following days, I started putting my life in order in fresh ways. Simple self-care routines, long strolls, catching up with friends I'd let slip, diving into hobbies I'd paused. Sarah's absence didn't feel like a penalty. It felt like room to breathe, reflect, and evolve. Along the way, I saw that love isn't only about being close. It's about respect, empathy, and mutual commitment. When one person stops showing up that way, the connection fades quietly, like slow leaks weakening a structure until it shakes. By week's end, Sarah reached out once more. This time it wasn't defensive or demanding. It was cautious, gentle. She asked if we could meet and talk. I said yes, not from neediness, but because I was open to honest dialogue on my terms. When we sat down, something big clicked. My stepping away had brought clarity to us both. The silence wasn't punishment. It was a mirror showing the flaws and distances we'd ignored. The future was unclear, but the process had already given me gifts beyond price, awareness, resilience, and a calm knowledge that pulling back can reveal what love really is. If you ever put yourself first over staying with someone, share it below. Your words might inspire courage in others. That day, our talk was steady, thoughtful, and truly open for the first time. No yelling, no begging, just raw honesty about our mistakes, unmet wants, and the remaining affection, fragile though it was. Then came the choice, quiet, not heated, but definite. We needed distance, maybe permanent, maybe not. The feelings hadn't vanished completely, but they'd changed, and we couldn't fake it anymore. In that instant, a peace washed over me that I hadn't felt in years. Weeks went by, and routines returned. But deep down, everything was different. I wasn't holding on desperately, waiting, or trading my insight for ease. I'd taken back my calm, and with it, the power to face life, and connections with truth and self-worth. Sarah and I stayed in touch, but in a new way, not as intertwined partners, but as separate people who could truly see each other without delusions. If you stood at a relationship fork in the road, pause and think, what does standing up for yourself mean to you? Let me know in the comments. Your thoughts count. Ultimately, that weekend marked a pivot point, not from big fights, shocking discoveries, or makeups, but because it reminded me of something I'd lost sight of. Love isn't ownership. It's a daily decision. And sometimes the bravest way to love, yourself or the other person, is to step aside gently, creating room for insight, thought, and true growth. That weekend wasn't a close. It was an opening to remember that my life, my serenity, and my value belong to me, to embrace them quietly, firmly, and without regret.